Hello, my loves. This one is going to be a lot for the ladies, but any dude who wants to get their body back, wants to get mold metals out of their system and get back on their game, welcome. I'm going to be walking you through how I got my energy back, my health back, got 30 pounds down, and feel and apparently look better. Not apparently, come on, I look better than ever. I have to go back a few years. I've been actually trying to do this podcast episode for about a year and a half. I keep promising. I'm going to talk about the mold and the metals and the detox and all the things. And it's been such a layered journey with some setbacks. And now I feel like I'm through that tunnel. So I have things to share. I have to give you a big jumbo mondo disclaimer before we begin. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a functional MD. I'm not a naturopath. I'm not an astrologer. I don't play one on Instagram. So keep that in mind. I am not giving you, this is not medical advice. This is a healing biopic. This is my healing memoir in audio. This is about my body, my karma, my choices, my disposition, my astrological chart. Just take what you want that might be helpful and leave the rest. And I have another disclaimer. Everything I'm about to describe and list for you in terms of things I've done, paid for, purchased, has cost me a blessed fortune. It was really heartbreaking at various points of this journey when I was so sick and so literally tired and exhausted that it was difficult for me to walk up 2 flights of stairs. There were times when I was so fatigued. At one point, I was living in a house where my bedroom was on the 3rd floor. And there were nights I just slept on the couch on the ground floor because I didn't think I could make it up the stairs. That's how sick I was. And it occurred to me there are other people just as sick as this who do not have the means to go to a naturopath or a functional MD, which is my preference. I do not refer to doctors very much, mainstream doctors at all, even for taking care of my child. And because functional medicine and naturopathy is not covered by most conventional healthcare systems, there are many people who do not have access to the healing tools. I have probably spent, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars over the last 3 years with, an NAD IV alone in some clinics is $500. I was going to do whatever it took. I was going to sell my car if I had to. I was not going to take the vacation. I did not need the shoe. I needed the IV. I did not need the purse. And that's what I've spent a lot of my extra income on for the last while. So disclaimer, the healthcare system in North America needs a major overhaul that is driven by compassion and a holistic paradigm. End of story, which I hope is the beginning of the story. We will provide links to almost everything and everyone I mention in the podcast show notes. I am only mentioning, I have talked to a lot of people. I've done a lot of things. I'm only going to be highlighting the people that actually supported me in getting results. It's all about results. And some of this is going to be a little bit graphic because I'm going to talk about poop. Kidding, it's not going to be that graphic at all. We are going to cover mold and metal detoxing. We are going to talk about parasite cleansing and how I lost almost 30 pounds. The skincare that I use, the naturopaths that supported me, essential oils, salt baths, and I'm going to talk about my living environment, my home space, what I did there. And we will end with what really has been most important to my wellness, which is my inner state. Here we go, healing with D. Okay, let's go back a few years. Mold is real. And if it is unmitigated, it will come after your immune system. So mold is everywhere and it's part of life. And ideally, our immune system is healthy enough to process it and it doesn't take us down. But if there's too much of it, it creates imbalance. And my experience was I had mold about 7 years ago in a house that I owned, and there was a water leak in the wall, and it was removed. We had to cut the walls out and put in new, drywall and all that kind of stuff. And that let off all these spores in the air, and I got really, really sick. I had a lot of respiratory issues. Okay, I cleaned that up. Jump cut to a few years later, I moved to this really shitty building that had this rad apartment in it. So this is so the way I can do things sometimes. My son and I are moving from one area to the other in the city. We're moving to this cool beach area, the West End of Vancouver. And I go to look at this place. I'm going to rent for a while because I'm not sure if I want to buy And it's just this dump of a building. But they take us to the top floor. It's the, quote, penthouse. I use the term loosely. But it's actually really incredibly rad because they basically illegally plunked this 3-bedroom apartment. Really hard to find a 3-bedroom on top of this crap building. And because I got the style and the touch, my kid and I made this the coolest place. We had like an 800 square foot deck. I did a pergola. I was going to do this urban farm. I painted the whole place high gloss white. Anyway, it was cool, but it tried to kill me. And within about 6 to 9 months, a window there of moving into this place, all my respiratory stuff had come back. I had gained 15 to 20 pounds. I hadn't been doing anything different. Same kind of food, same amount of movement. And I'm just like, my boyfriend jeans are now fitting like skinny jeans. What is going on? And it was really the respiratory stuff that tipped me off. Like, we have an issue here. I did all the tests. I worked with my naturopath, Dr. Sonia Jensen in Vancouver with Divine Elements. I did the mold test. She also suggested, and I was very resistant to this, she said, you might want to do a test for heavy metals. And I was like, what do you mean heavy metals? I'm healthy, all the things. And the test came back off the charts. I was in the red zone with mold in my body, types of mold that grow in physical environments that just come from nature. And I had pushing dangerously high levels of lead and of mercury in my system. I have had some mercury fillings removed. I did grow up in Windsor, Ontario, which has a lot of pollution in the environment because it is Motown. It is where Ford and Chrysler and it's all the car factories. And the metal, as I learned, I'll speak for myself because I'm not a naturopath or a doctor, was hanging out in my brain. So I went on a brain detox, metals detox program called True Cellular Detox that has this, part of it is something called cytodetox. Again, you have to work with a professional to get this stuff. This was no fun. It was simple in terms of protocol. I was just taking 3 packs, like a handful of little supplements 3 times a day, and this liquid drop. And I did that for 3 months. You really had to stay on top of it. There was some complexity to the phases of it, but totally manageable, easy to do. And it was uncomfortable because for a few weeks I felt nauseous. The brain fog that had been such a predominant system in the mold was at an all-time high. I could hardly remember my middle name, which, by the way, my middle name is Danielle. So things definitely got worse before they got better. I had serious eye floaters. Part of the mold and metal dance toxicity was, in addition to the weight gain, in addition to the brain fog, which is so frustrating for me, I wrote a book while I was in the midst of all of this, and I really think it affected the book. I think I could have written a clearer, more concise book. I think the mold actually drove me a little bit fucking crazy. Like, actually. I made some weird decisions during that time. I cut off a lot of my hair. It's just girl things like that, and some business things that I just was not grounded. And joint pain, and then the respiratory stuff was a nightmare. I would travel to different environments. I would be in different hotel rooms. I became so hypersensitive to air fresheners and different cleansers and soaps. I would begin wheezing right away. I had some of the worst lung infections and bouts of bronchitis in my life. It was bad news. So in addition to beginning with the true cellular detox for the brain, get the metals out, I was trying everything. I was doing NAD IVs, which were also quite a trip. It feels like an elephant is sitting on your chest as it's dripping in. And I would throw up during those IVs, but I knew I had to have them. I was doing Myers cocktails. I tried methylene blue, which now I've done enough of my own personal research on that. I wouldn't try methylene blue again. I was going every other week for vitamin D shots. I was doing colonics and coffee enemas. You name it. I was trying it. I was nebulizing. I was steaming with rosemary oil. Sometimes infections were happening. I had to go on rounds of antibiotic and then repair my gut after this. From that point to now, where I can say other side of the tunnel is smoking hot vitality, is about a 3-year process. So I started with the brain, and then I moved on to, there was a lot of nutrition in there. So let me talk about food. I took a food sensitivity test, an allergy test. It was clear that because of the mold, there was a huge amount of inflammation in my body. I mean, that's really the thrust of what's happening. Your body, my body, was on fire. So I wasn't absorbing the nutrients from my food and from my cupboard full of supplements that I was taking every day. At the time, when I really got struck by the toxins and my immune system was super compromised, I was a vegan. I don't know, it's weird to say I was a vegan. I was living vegan. I was eating vegan. I was eating a vegan diet. And I was doing that for love. I was doing that out of gratitude and respect for the animal kingdom. I felt spiritually, emotionally, I felt so good just eating vegetables, and my body needed more. So at one point, when I was standing in my moldy kitchen, not realizing the extent of my illness, I realized I needed some freaking protein. And I was in tears. I was so sick. And I just said a very concerted prayer I get a little emotional thinking about it, to the animal kingdom. And it went a little something like, blessed animal kingdom, I have tried my best to keep a lot of chickens and cows out of slaughterhouses. And for an indefinite period of time, I'm going to need more of your help. I need to start eating some animal products. I knew I needed something supplemental, and that was it. So I started eating meat, and my body responded immediately. Prior to all of this, like whilst the mold has taken me down and I'm feeling way too pudgy than I like to be, and I'm vegan, and I haven't realized that there's a lot of citric acid that is in various supplements I was taking at the time and some foods. And that citric acid is a form of mold. I decided that I was going to comb through my kitchen and my supplement drawers and remove everything that had citric acid in it. And that helped. While I was doing that and feeling the pudge, I was doing what a lot of women do and I went to the gym and I was running and I was doing the cardio and I hired a trainer and I had a book tour and I wanted to lose 15 pounds by a certain date. And she wanted to set me up with a freaking 90-minute workout 4 times a week. And I was like, who's got time for this? Like, no, and I did it and then I didn't do it and none of it worked and I got sicker. But then I started to build up with some more protein in my food, my diet, and the mold and the metals were making their way out of my body. Then I started working with Jen Pike, jenpike.com, who's become one of my beloved friends. Jen has something called the Perimenopause Project and the Synced Movement Program. And she brought to my attention that mold and parasites are buddies. They love hanging out. They're like the bullies in your body. And that, I don't even know what else. Is the mold hiding in the crevices where the parasites hide? Are the worms feeding off of the mold like snacks, Scooby snacks in your guts? I don't know, but guess what? She was on the money. So at this point, I had my brain back. I needed to get my guts back. And I did the Cell Core Parasite Cleanse. You will need a referring doctor, naturopath practitioner to help get you on this program, I think. I don't even think I'm an affiliate for Cell Core, but boyfriend, girlfriend, let's talk about worms coming out of your body. So this is the best thing you should do if you do a parasite cleanse. Do it at the same time as your girlfriends. And then take photos of your poop. And don't warn each other that you're going to send images of 12-inch worms that have just come out of your body to your friend and shock the literal shit out of your friends. I did not do that, but I was on the receiving end of a sister who had done 2 rounds of Cell Core. And I was like, you have to warn me before you send me these photos. I actually don't want to see the rope worms that came out of your ass. It was transformational for me. I did a 3-month protocol. At first I was like, okay, all right. There's some stuff that needs to be gone. And there it is. Like, wow, some stuff that needs to be gone. That's interesting. Okay, this is not photo worthy. And you are advised to root through your poop a few times a week. So you're going to have a whole different relationship with chopsticks as you do this parasite cleanse. And by the 3rd month, it was shocking. I don't know how to describe it. I don't really want to describe it. The girth, the bandwidth of things coming out of my body, undeniable. I mean, they may as well have had heads and teeth. I should have named some of the things that came out of my body. And I started to feel better and better. Whilst I was doing that, I was still doing a lot of colonics. I go to a really fantastic colonic clinic in Vancouver called Inner Garden. And I love those girls. I just get on the table, up goes the hose, and we talk about conspiracy stuff for the whole hour and listen to podcasts. It's great. Okay, I think that covers my guts. So this took, again, about 2 to 3 years. And I was seeing a lot of different practitioners during that. I saw various nutritionists that it didn't work. It was silly advice. I did more workout stuff. It didn't work. I was on all kinds of protein smoothies and I thought it didn't work. But what did work was the brain detox and getting clear about my food sensitivities. I found out that I was allergic to corn, to all forms of dairy, goat, cow, etc., and then some weird things like Brazil nuts. So I got the allergens out of my diet. And I also cleaned up my physical environment. So I have a recipe, an essential oils recipe, which I'll put in the show notes. It's thieves oil that has some clove and orange oils in it, and you use some baking soda, and I think it has some vinegar in it. And I use that as a cleansing agent for my dishwasher because mold hides in the bottom of the barrel. I was amazed when I went in there to find out what was living in there. And I used it in my washing machine, also a place for hidden mold. And I used it to clean my diffuser. So I have essential oils streaming out of diffusers in my home in multiple places, and they were a little bit manky. I also invested in an Air Doctor Pro. I just got the big bad boy and 3 years worth of filters, and that has made a huge difference. I totally stand behind the Air Doctor. You light a match, you blow out a candle, you put too much cayenne pepper in your sauce over dinner, and those bad boys kick into gear. They're very sensitive. What else did I do? I got a Berkey water filter. I did some other weird things in my home, but that's about it for house. Okay, let's talk about weight loss. I know everybody leaning in right now. Nothing worked. Nothing was going to work while my body was just trying to stay alive. When your body is compromised in terms of the immune system and is just trying to keep the bugs at bay, it is not interested in burning fat. And through a beautiful program called Primal Bod, I learned that basically I'd created an insulin-resistant body that instead of my cells saying, oh, hi, fat and sugar, you go in this direction and you go in this direction, and then we're going to detox you here. It would just like, we're not even really going to talk to you. We're just busy over here. We're not going to process your fat properly or your sugar or your all the things properly. How did I learn this, and how did I lose almost 30 pounds? And there's probably more to go. All through the Primal Bod program. I had noticed Candy Fraser, who is the founder of this Primal Bod methodology, and I wasn't so down with a lot of the critiques around vegans and vegetarians and this intensity around eating meat. And one of my dear friends who's gorgeous and is in the entertainment industry. That sounds a little sketch. Who's a very famous actress. She never tells me what to do. And just one day out of the blue, she's like, just do this program. I just did it. And I lost 12 pounds in 3 weeks. And this is a way of living. And this season of life, this is what I need. And I'm just like, okay. It was the answer I needed at the time. So essentially the Primal Bod program, and I do highly recommend it. I'm going to give you all the disclaimers, why it worked for me and what I'm shifting into. I knew that I could commit to this program for 3 months. I can do anything for 3 months. I mean, I can do anything. It's heavy on the meat. Heavy on the meat. You are going to be eating meat protein. You are not going to be eating a lot of carbs. You are going to say goodbye to potatoes. There is not going to be any protein shakes. There is no fake food. This is not keto. This is as clean as you can get, as meat as you can get. There's intermittent fasting. There is minimal movement. There is not a lot of cardio. And it helped me reset my body. So not only did I lost about 27 pounds over a 3 to 4 month period. You are not counting calories. And I do actually truly recommend you do the actual course. You might be thinking, no, I could do it. Danielle just told me. But really, there's an amazing community. Candy's educational component of the program, you get 12 modules over 12 weeks. I learned a lot that changed how I look at sugar and fruit. And by the way, you're going to say goodbye to fruit for a minute, and meat. And I created a fat burning, insulin sensitive, which is a positive thing, happier body, no inflammation, no bloat. almost 30 pounds down. A new way of life. Whilst I was doing that, I committed to ocean swimming. And by swimming, I mean, don't have any images of me like doing this long distance butterfly crawl where I don't even know what stroke. I go into the ocean that I am so blessed. I walk 1 block to the Pacific Ocean from my apartment, and I just kind of get in there and I just hang out. That's what I do. I basically go and I pray in the ocean. I pray the way I've been taught to pray, which is I always offer thanks to the earth elements. And then I offer up my cellulite and my negative thinking. And then I give thanks again. And then I come home. The swimming helped. The sauna helped. I should link to this in the show notes. I have a very small sauna that's kind of like a squatty telephone booth that actually I can fit into the corner of my bedroom. It was not ridiculously expensive, and I started getting into the sauna at least 3 nights a week, sometimes 5 nights a week. I started doing more cold showers, but not ridiculous. Like just after I've done my thing and my soap up and wash my hair, just like 2 minutes in cold water, and it actually began to feel amazing. No cold plunging for me. I've looked into the work of Dr. Stacy Sims and what I've learned from her. According to her research, the extreme cold Wim Hof kind of stuff for female bodies is not ideal. And I knew that. My body was very aware. Like I just don't gravitate towards that. I gravitate towards heat. Apparently, the cold stuff is better for the male body, and the hot stuff, the female body is able to endure and is much more receptive to the health benefits of that. So that's become part of my life, sauna and a bit of cold. I stopped snacking. This made a huge difference. And there's very little dairy. There's always been very little dairy in my life because of respiratory sensitivities, which have been, I put them firmly in the past. I eat dark chocolate, and I'm now in a place after having peeled off a bunch of pounds where I'm back to eating fruit. My inner child needs fruit. My joy needs fruit. So I know it's nature's candy, but I love me the blueberries. I just eat them after my meals. I also really started paying attention to and subscribing to Glucose Goddess, Jessie, with a really beautiful, complex French name that I'm not going to try and pronounce right now. And she has a really science and life experience informed, that's what I'm most interested in, approach to managing your blood sugar and knowing when to eat, what to eat, if you're going to eat the sweets, where it comes in your meal, how you can basically prevent sugar spikes, glucose spikes with timing and food combination. And I love her work. And I think she's got huge integrity and amazing style. Okay, speaking of style and girl things, should we talk about, let's talk about my face. So I was at a conference recently, mastermind with some friends, and got some great feedback, which was, you look fucking great. Thank you, girlfriends. And you actually look different. So, losing about 30 pounds going to make you look different. But I know there were some people just like, have you had some work done? Are you doing the talks? What's going on? So the answer is no, nothing. I've never talked about this before. I have done Botox about 3 years ago for a book tour. I was like, the eyebrows just need a little zhuzh. And I talked myself into that because I told myself it just disintegrates in your body. But come on, Danielle, come on. I don't put any other injectable substance into my body. I did read some wild stuff about the potentiality of little nanobots being surreptitiously put into all kinds of things, but one of them being Botox. And I was just like, yeah, I just, this isn't for me anymore. So I did a couple of things to basically firm up my face. What did I do? I started doing face yoga. I love the work of a woman named Trin George. Again, I'll put her Instagram handle in the post, but I'll spell it for you right now. TrinGeorg, Trin George. She is the most beautiful, tender-hearted, grounded Korean woman living in Germany, giving away so much beautiful content about firming up your jawline and your double chin. And being Korean, she has the Asian hooded eyes, much like my French Canadian mutt self. And I was really impressed to see how she lifted her entire face over a period of months and years and looks amazing. So you can just go follow her on Instagram and just do her stuff. I created a little file in my IG saves of the exercises that work most for me. One teaching from her and many other face yoga people, there's lots of great ones out there, but she's my favorite because she's the sweetest, is it's better to do a little bit of face yoga every day instead of a lot of face yoga just a few times a week. It's really the consistency. The muscles that you're working with in your face are small and fine, and they don't need a lot of intensity, but they need regular intensity. And it's made a difference for me. In addition to the face yoga, I have a TheraFace Pro gizmo. So Theragun that's the company where you get the big vibrator thing for your glutes. And they also make this handheld thing that sends electrical currents through your skin, which helps with cell regeneration and muscle, formation. I don't know. I like it. And I just put some face oil on in the morning or in the evening, and I run that wand over my face, and yeah, you can actually see the results after a few weeks. I also really have seen results with red light therapy. So because of hormone imbalance, which was something for me that came before my friend, the mold and the metal poisoning came, because of hormone imbalance, I had and still deal with, but not as intensely, melasma, where you get some brown spots on your skin. And it took me a while to figure out it was hormones. One thing I did to mitigate that was take some licorice and then red light therapy for topical stuff. So that has lightened the brown spots on my face. I have one significant, which I'm sure if you look at any photos of me, you can notice. On my left cheek, I have a really big brown spot that ever so sweetly is in the shape of a heart. And I just have kind of learned to love it. And I would still love to lighten it up and make it go away. And if I do a photo shoot, I put some extra concealer on that. But I've been working with 2 red light therapy masks. One is the higher dose mask. And that mask I like because it's flat and pliable and floppy, and then you can lay it on your chest and your neck. My first mask I had lasted me almost 3 years before it went kaput. And then my facialist, my esthetician, Danielle Bellavance, if you want an amazing facial in Vancouver, go to Bellavance Skin. She recommended the Dr. Dennis Gross mask. I almost fell over when I went into Sephora. I'm not a Sephora fan. I think the majority of the products that are carried in that store and most contemporary drugstores are full of toxins and endocrine disruptors and things that are not great for your lungs and gross. But the Dennis Gross mask, it's like a Halloween mask. It's super creepy and it's really powerful. And I've been seeing lightning results with it, and it's expensive. So FYI there. Okay, want to keep talking about girl things? All right, let's talk about skincare. So, for about 5 years, I was on a very popular skincare line that I got through a Medi Spa slash dermatologist. It's only available in those types of clinics. And I later found out when I got the results that I had high metals in my body, I was like, where is this coming from? And I found out that there was a lot of metal in the skincare line that I was taking. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to get sued. Nobody's ever going to sue me for anything, but read the ingredients. I immediately dropped all of that stuff. I also think that I was getting metal poisoning in addition to the city I grew up in and it just being literally in the climate. I think pipes and water supply and fillings and all those things. So my dear friend, Nadine Artemis, is a genius in terms of holistic approaches to skincare, dental care, and healing. She is the founder of Living Libations. I am one of their biggest fans. I have been to their facility in Ontario, and it is one of the most beautiful, environmentally forward, gorgeous facilities ever. There is a room for frankincense oil, just a room. The quality of all of the ingredients is unbelievable because Nadine is an eccentric, gifted goddess. So I have for years almost exclusively just used Living Libations on my skin. I have a Living Libations store set up. I will give you the link for that in the show notes. It has changed my gum health, my teeth health, my skin health. I use the breast oil. I use all the things. I just love it. In addition to Living Libations, I use a line called Renee Rouleau. There's a through line here. Renee Rouleau is also a friend of mine. Her line has active ingredients. There's a few things I use. She has a skin lightening toner that has been helping me with the melasma. And she has a triple berry mask that just really eats the stuff, the layers, and I just love it. And she is not doing BS white labeling of her products. She is actually doing the research and the formulation of her line, and she's in such integrity, and I just adore her. Okay, another girlfriend thing. I changed my eyeliner. I should do a whole other episode, shouldn't I? Just on beauty stuff. Let's just go there for a second because this is fun. I see so many women. We're all beautiful. But I see and because of my love of beauty and humanity, and specifically the sisterhood, there are a lot of women I see, and I want to go up to them and say, girlfriend, if we just got you the right shade of blonde, your life would change. There are some stylists out there that they're making people too yellow, too white, too brassy, and it's totally changing their whole auric field. And I feel the same way about eyeliner. So I've gone through many phases of eyeliner I just dark, especially after I got out of a big relationship. I was just like in my moody, broody punk phase. And I was just like, I'm just going to do fucking black eyeliner now. Meh. And that worked for a while. But what I've noticed in photos is the darker eyeliner is just like too much now. My favorite new product is a Victoria Beckham eyeliner that is this coppery gold green. So I'm still into heavy liner, but it's got to be a whole new shade, and golds are working for me. The eyeliner is a bit soft, but I do love that it's a luxury product. I don't know if it's made out of veal intestines. I don't know what their policy is on animal testing. Now that I own a $40 eye pencil, I will look into it. But I changed my hair, my eyeliner, and that really worked with the weight loss. Okay, let's move into the stuff that I know has worked for my healing on all levels, psychological, spiritual, and physical. And that is salt baths, my write and burn practice, both of which include essential oils, and my devotional practices, prayer and meditation. I really think that is the foundation of everything. With a clearer mind, I am able to discern the solutions and the people that can help me heal. I am able to think higher thoughts, higher vibration thoughts, and all healing comes from that. I am able to be more compassionate for my suffering, and I am able to be more devoted to taking care of my body temple. At this phase, this chapter of my life, and this is a much longer conversation, I am coming home to embodiment. I wrote a book about spiritual bypassing because we teach what we know. That was White Hot Truth. It's still available on audio. It's some of my best stuff. It's funny. And there's a lot about how self-help becomes self-criticism. And I could see how I was really, for much of my life, trying to, even though I wanted to be hot and I love my boobs and my curves and sex and all that, I was still kind of trying to escape my body and transcend in a way. And really now, I'm just more radiant than ever and more in my body and more human than ever. I'm finally embracing my humanness like I never have before. And that is turning out to be the holiest thing I've ever done. And let me talk about write and burn. So we have a practice in our centered collective where on the dark of the moon is the 24-hour period before the new moon. So on the dark of the moon and on full moons, we do a ritual where I have a set of questions, different questions for each moon. Reflective, you're looking at a type of theme that's happening in terms of emotions. You're looking back at some memories, and then there's a general question for each moon about what you want to bless and release. And you put pencil to paper and you write with all honesty for about 21 minutes. And then you use the power of fire. You burn it in your metal sink. And then you get yourself into salt water. So it's a salt bath with 4 to 5 cups of salt and a combination of essential oils that you love. Just come into the collective. I've got recipes for all of this. I've got the how-tos. We have a write and burn journal. It's really part of our heart-centered culture. And why are you taking a salt bath? Or why, if you are lucky enough, are you getting yourself into an ocean after you do the write and burn? Because the write and burn is kicking up. It's pulling out the debris in your psyche, the stuff you want to let go of, the negative thought forms. You've kicked that up and that's hanging out in your energy field. And salt is one of the most powerful cleansers that we have on the earth of the body of the mother. And that helps further dissolve the densities in your system. So I do salt baths at least twice a week, sometimes 5 nights a week. I do a write and burn at least twice a month, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week if I'm really feeling a lot of shadow, a lot of emotional pain, or any physical pain. Essential oils are my definition of plant medicine. I specifically work with Young Living oils and some living libation oils. I am not looking to grow my multi-level marketing situation with essential oils. I will have a link in the show notes if you want to get yourself into Young Living. It would be my highest recommendation. I know there's lots of other situations out there. Myself and the metaphysical practitioner I've been working with for a decade feel these are amongst the highest frequency oils that are available. And I love me, as you know, some living libations oils. I am applying various oils to various parts of my body multiple times a day. I have patchouli oil on the bottom of my feet because that is great for skin conditioning and for abundance. I put oils at the back of my skull where the limbic brain is, where the fear lizard brain is. Oils on my heart, oils on my palms. It's my medicine. And in no way is it, I mean, I guess it's obvious if I say it's my medicine. In no way is it trite for me. It's not just a fun, smell good thing. Every time I am applying oils to my body, I am in a state of gratitude to the plant kingdom for helping me come into balance. That's my approach. Again, so many rituals and practices are outlined in our Centered Collective. It's a big part of our community. You can get the Centered app for free. We talk about the energetics of the days of the week. I let you know the best times of the month in terms of the moons to do salt bathing rituals and all the things. Just go to getheartcentered.com, getheartcentered.com, and you can get the app for free. Okay, let's go deeper into devotion in my inner world. So, as I'm sure you can imagine, there's been lots of tears along the way with the brain fog and borderline pneumonia many times, and how I learned to approach that and live with something that has been was chronic for me. First of all, I talk about it all in the past tense. But in my worst times, crying on the bathroom floor, begging my soul for mercy, feeling at times angry with my body. One, I shifted my relationship to my body and stopped listening to BS mainstream stuff that my body was attacking itself because of this, that, and the other. Also, I do have pre-existing, I also put this in the past, Epstein-Barr virus. And that was all part of getting strep throat and mono and all those things, which compromised my immune system, which made me very susceptible to the mold. And I had to go through numerous tests for somebody to test for Epstein-Barr, which was absolutely ridiculous that nobody tested. I had all of the most obvious symptoms for this. The thing with Epstein-Barr is it's tricky to find because it hides behind some of your organs. And they ended up sending me to the Department of Tropical Infectious Diseases or something like this. And I sat at this guy's desk and he just said, what are your symptoms? And this, that, and my knees hurt and I got brain fog and I'm getting all this bronchitis. And he's like, has anybody tested you for Epstein-Barr? And meanwhile, I thought I got bit by some bug in Costa Rica. And he's like, lady, just do this simple test. That's it, Okay, so in my depths of fatigue and feeling like I was going to cough up a lung, I decided to realize that my body was trying to show me things and heal itself. My body was healing. And it was doing all it could do to keep me alive and vibrant in light of all the things that were in my system. That was a big shift for me, to befriend my body. And then to befriend the challenges and to know that all forms of pain, emotional, psychological, same thing, and physical, are the unconscious, subconscious self asking for love and attention. That's the healing medicine. Just pay attention to me in a loving, compassionate way with tenacity and unconditional love. There was a time where I would say I was at my most exhausted and I just flipped the script and I started talking to my body, my illness, in a different way. And instead of saying, please get better, please leave me alone, please leave me, I said the most radical thing I could say in that moment, which was, if you are here tomorrow, I will still love you. If I am still in agony tomorrow, I will still be here for you. I will continue to listen to what you have to say to me with compassion. I get the lesson. I get that grief gets processed through the respiratory system. I learned that I incarnated with this theme. I was always struck by why my lungs? I mean, I know I'm a Gemini and all these things, but I have brought this into this lifetime to transmute. I had grief from places that were not of this lifetime. And I was going to do this for myself. And I was going to do this to become more radiant and better at spiritual direction for people. And my soul was teaching me things through my lungs and the mold and the metal and the inflammation and the weight and the brain fog. And instead of making those things my enemies and just, cognitively saying, or, being motivational and hypey spiritual about it, saying these things are my teachers, I actually befriended those things as my biggest teachers and said, I will be here with compassion for you if you show up tomorrow. Meaning, if my body still feels like it's on fire tomorrow, I will still love you. And that love will give me the courage to find solutions to transmute this. I know you do not want me to suffer, that you are only asking for my loving attention. I would say that was one of the most punctuated moments of my life, of my healing journey. And I was able to extend compassion in such a deep way because I have my devotional practices, because I am doing the centering practice where I bring pain into my heart and transmute it with light on a daily basis, because I am showing up for myself to sit and to stare at light and to breathe rhythmically and to be in prayer in a really emotionally intimate, honest, needy, powerful, perfectly imperfect way with the divine. And that is how I got my body back and look hotter than ever. My prayer is that you can meet your health challenges with a depth of compassion that blows your mind, that helps everything transmute, and you bring yourself back into every level of harmony and balance, that you realize that you are aligned with the majestic overflow of health and wellness, that you welcome deep abundance of wellness into your life in all forms, that the best healers, because we need the healers in all forms, traditional, Eastern, Western, Vedic, naturopathic, functional, gurus, astrology, cayenne pepper, turmeric, licorice tinctures, antibiotics when they're called for, that all of that shows up to you freely, immediately, economically. Please know, believe, move into the deep wisdom that our bodies are vehicles of consciousness, that they are never against us. We're living in a friendly universe that is all for our joy, our abundance, and our unfolding. And that includes your cells, your skin, your bones, your organs. Please remember that the medicine is often in the dose, that we need to do these things in a gentle, rhythmic way. I mean, there are times just blast stuff out, but there have been many phases in my healing where I just like, and then this is my personality. If 3 capsules will do good for me, what would 5 do? It's just like 1 too many colonics, just a little aggressive on the cleansing, just gentle. Gentle means no setbacks. You may have to double down on your devotional practices so that you have the mental lucidity and the love to continuously choose the higher thought, that you are healing all of the time, and that wellness and vitality is your birthright. Very practically speaking, you might want to save this episode or share this with some friends who have any part of this going on in their lives. If this has been useful to you, it actually really helps us raise the consciousness of the algorithm when you leave a review or you hit the 5 stars. May we heal fully, wholeheartedly, and completely at all levels and all elements. I'll be here for you next week, always with love, Danielle. Thank you so much for listening, for feeling, for spreading the word. With love.